things differently or even having to do without. These are changes that thousands of New Yorkers are having to adjust to, having to go to school online, being without a job longer than you ever imagined, not being able to pay your rent, or not knowing where your next meal is going to come from. We live in this age of COVID. Joining me in a moment to talk about how Brooklyn residents can deal with this new reality is New York City Council member Alika Empri-Samuel. Also in this program, you'll hear a student from Brooklyn's Bedford Academy High School telling young academic achievers host Alonta Wrighton about her coursework and about her greatest accomplishment. Let us begin with this new reality of where we are. Councilmember Empri-Samuel, welcome to Brooklyn45.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here with you and having this discussion. I really appreciate the time.
Well, we appreciate your making the time. You're a very busy lady. You are chair of New York City Housing Public Committee. Are children asking questions about this virtual learning?
You know, it's interesting because first off, I'm a mom. And I'm just thinking back to, so my son just graduated from the 8th grade and he was, doing remote learning since the first week in March because his school, four of his teachers tested positive the first week in March. And so his school closed down immediately. And just having to go through the entire remote learning process was new, interesting, challenging. And now, we were all thinking that it would end over the summer and the children would be back in school. And so, I'm just hearing mixed feelings, mixed emotions. I know a lot of children want to go back to school. They want to return to the classrooms and be with their friends, just leave the house, go back to, their quote unquote normal. And then you have children and parents that are just scared, where they're like, absolutely not. I am not at all going to put myself in danger. I don't know what's going on. And they are not willing to go back. And so, it's just a mixed bag, but I'm hearing more people err on the side of caution and saying that my health is at risk. My entire family's health is at risk at this point. And so let me stay home until the city of New York and the state of New York get this right.
As chair of the Public Housing Committee, is there a situation where lots of parents cannot afford to purchase the books that perhaps are very necessary if you're doing remote learning? If they're going to school, they can share with the student next to them. That's not possible at all. What concerns are you hearing from parents?
What's very interesting is the fact that the concerns that I'm hearing now are the concerns that I was hearing last year and the year before and the year before. And I say that because we've always had in our communities, a lack of resources when you compare it to other school districts, right? We've always had issues with books and supplies and tools and teachers complaining about, they have to buy the school supplies for their students. And, parents feeling like they didn't have, during back to school, we were doing book bag giveaways and supply giveaways from last year, right? And so now that we're in the middle of a pandemic before and again, the issues around the need for resources has just exacerbated. Now we're talking about technology, right? The fact that when you're doing remote learning means what? Getting on a computer, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. And not just a computer, but you have to have access to Wi-Fi. How about that? Right. Mm-hmm. And so as the chair of the Public Housing Committee, that's been a concern forever, the digital divide. My families don't have access to Wi-Fi. And so that has been a serious challenge, which is one of the reasons why we were saying that the city of New York has to get it together because, children need to have the necessary tools to be able to compete. And right now, this city is struggling with that on every level.
this COVID may last for a while. No one knows. As you said earlier, we all thought it was going to be ended by the summer. We don't know. Tell us what you are doing with the Board of Education and with the mayor. We keep hearing the mayor saying lots of things about the schools and what the schools should be doing. But what conversations have you been having, both with the Board of Education and with the mayor, about the challenges that you are seeing every day?
Oh boy, can I be honest right now? I have to be, just clear, and say that I have not been having, unfortunately, conversations with this administration. I have been having conversations with the folks that we have in the Department of Education. But as far as this mayor and this administration, we have not been included in the conversation. We have not been included in any discussions. I'm thankful that we have such an aggressive and, passionate public, education chair in Mark Traeger, who was a former school teacher, leading us in the city council as it relates to education. Mark Traeger has been a force to be reckoned with. He's been, holding oversight hearings with Department of Education and, submitting and introducing legislation to say this is what our parents are fighting for, and working hand in hand with parents and teachers, admin and advocates. And so it has been quite the challenge, I have to honestly say, not being included in conversations and just decisions and strategies and planning with this administration. And I think because of that, we are in the state that we are in, because our mayor did not see the city council as partners in this. And, we're the voice of the people. Our constituents, the parents of the children in the Department of Education, sent us to City Hall to be in partnership with the mayor to make sure that, their voices are heard. And we have not seen that. And so what we've been doing is, hosting town hall meetings, hearing from parents, and relating that information to Department of, Education officials. But that first question about the mayor and the administration, unfortunately, we have not been able to be at the table.
There are elections coming up for mayor in a few months, and there are lots of people who are already throwing their hats into the ring. What have your community members been saying about all this, and what you should be doing as their representative?
Mm-hmm. So we are, remember 2021 is not just mayor, right? It's mayor, it's controller, it's city council, right? I am running for re-election, and hope that the voters would re-elect me to be their voice in City Hall. So it's everyone, it's all 51 seats are up. And so I think now, people are tired, people are exhausted. People are tired of the same political rhetoric. It's at this point is you either show up or you get up and get out, right? And so we're seeing a drastic change in how people see their elected officials, how people see and their demands of, quote unquote, politicians. And so my constituents, of Brownsville, Ocean Hill, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, and East Flatbush, from Broadway to Church Avenue down to, some parts of Schneider. My constituents are saying that they want leaders that not only listen, but are able to go in and make decisions on behalf of all New Yorkers, not just one type of constituency, not just one particular type of community, but be able to speak up and make decisions for everyone. But you make decisions by including the voices of the people. And again, you do that by incorporating and having input and feedback that's tangible and that's meaningful from the everyday New Yorker. That's parents, that's seniors, that's workers, that's small businesses. People are tired, and I really think that we're going to see some changes in how people campaign and, you know, and who steps up to be a real leader in this community. I mean, you know, just in this city overall.
Yes. What is the state of small businesses in your district? You've got a huge district. What are the challenges facing small businesses? What is the state of small businesses? And what have you been able to do to help these stores that are closed and stores that are close to closing and no one knowing when all this is going to end?
You know, you said I have a huge district, right? And I have to say that's because of 2010 census. You know, we don't fill out the census. So when you don't fill out the census, you know, you're not counted. So therefore they have to cram, they have to figure out where's the 150,000 people to make up a council district. And so I know that there's 150,000 people probably walking around Church Avenue alone. But yeah, between all of my businesses, you know, Church Avenue, Utica Avenue, Broadway, Pickens, Belmont, you know, it's been hard. This has been, I think, this is something that we've never seen before, right? Even like your regular auto mechanic shops, like at one point, everybody was closed down. And unfortunately, people won't see that level of, you know, what they were earning before, the money that they were able to bring in with their businesses. You know, there's no stimulus, there's no grant money that will be able to make them whole again. That's how devastating this is. But we've been able to work with, you know, small business services with the city of New York, and, you know, even working with our state colleagues and our federal colleagues to be able to, you know, get information out there to find out what people are eligible for, have them apply for the different grants that are available on every level, city, state, and federal government, be able to apply for, you know, the PPP and, you know, whatever, you know, folks are eligible for. We've been, you know, pushing those resources and having roundtable discussions. But I think that it's going to take a lot of creativity, you know, when it comes to, you know, what businesses will be able to thrive moving forward, and, you know, trying to figure out what people are doing and how to reinvent themselves. You know, when we looked at the Uber drivers and the taxi drivers, they started doing deliveries for, you know, Get Food NYC. And so, you know, it's just really being able to figure out how to be able to provide funding and resources to folks that are just struggling, and be able to get, you know, folks funding to put food on their family's table. And that's where we are today. You know, this is devastating, but we have been able to just, you know, put the information out there. My office never closed, you know, district offices around the city closed, but because of my constituency, I was not able to close my doors. And so we're still there, we're still open to be able to provide constituent services. And whatever information is coming back to us from the small businesses, the local businesses, we're there, you know, pretty much holding folks' hands every step of the way.
And we'd love to be able to put some of that information on our Facebook page. So if you can tell your constituents, they can send the information to us as well. Send it to you, you can send it to us, or send it to us, we'll copy it to you. And we'll put their concerns on our Facebook page, Brooklyn45. That's facebook.com/Brooklyn45 TV. There's another Brooklyn45 masquerading as Brooklyn45, but it's Brooklyn45 TV. You were talking about food just now. We know a lot of the churches in your constituency and in constituencies across Brooklyn have been feeding members of their community. What can the churches do beyond feeding to help you as their council person, help you resolve the issues that you're fighting with every day?
You know what? So the churches have been our bedrock, our, you know, backbone, you know, just even thinking about from the, you know, beginning of time, right? And into the civil rights movement. Everything that we needed and did was through the clergy. It was through the churches, even organizing. You know, we were having meetings in church basements. Wow. And so right now, you know, besides constant prayer, because this country needs a whole lot of prayer. But besides that, and, you know, like the food and the pantries, there's a level of expertise that comes out of every congregation. You know, it's your congregation is just like a mini community. You have your teachers, your bus drivers, your business owners, your doctors, your lawyers, everyone's there. And so, you know, people have been, you know, coming together and just lending their level of expertise, whatever it is that they can provide. And so, you know, what the churches have been doing now is just really being able to utilize their congregants to go out and push for. We've been doing volunteer, you know, information about the census, which is clearly ending on Friday. But the census, the Get Out the Vote initiatives, you know, calling people on the phone, doing phone banking, encouraging people to vote. When children needed tablets, you had the, you know, churches were able to just do surveys amongst their own congregants. Wow. And then coming up with lists of, okay, this particular family is in need of help. Who can adopt this particular family? And, you know, there's just so many things that churches can do. It's like a mini, you know, like city agency, a mini city hall, town hall with the churches. Yes. You know, if we didn't know how to organize and come together as a people before, we're doing that now. And, you know, as, you know, people of God, people of faith. And I'm seeing that more and more and more.
You mentioned voting just now, and there's going to be a lot of voting, we hope, in our communities, and particularly communities of color. Wow, they just told me we only have 3 minutes left. I wanted to ask you about your position on the rank and file voting.
Ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice voting, yes.
So ranked choice voting, I was not a fan of ranked choice voting when it was on the ballot. And that's because when you look at New York City, we have a lot of, you know, Black people elected to office. You know, we have, you know, our state attorney general is a Black woman. Our public advocate is a Black man. And when you look at our communities, we are in office. But when you have ranked choice voting, I understand the concept in other states in order to be able to get more minorities, you know, elected to office. But in New York, we didn't have that issue because of how our lines are drawn. And so, but now that we have ranked choice voting, I have a bill on the floor right now pushing to make sure that there's an educational component because our people have to be educated. But I do not believe that ranked choice voting should be on the ballot as part of our process in 2021 because we are not ready as a city. We can't even get early voting right. And so we need to make sure that we can actually get people to vote to the polls and an actual ballot before we start talking about a whole new way of voting, which is, you know, this whole ranked choice voting. And so I think that we should do it in 2023, not stop it, but just postpone it to 2023.
Okay, we've only got about a minute left. And I really wanted to talk to you about crime and what are you doing with the police to help resolve the crime situation that's in so many neighborhoods?
Yeah, and so, you know, I would hope that I could, you know, come back on the show because we can talk about crime for an entire show. Yes. But real quick, I'll say this, that, you know, as it relates to public safety, I think all communities should have a voice in who is in their precincts. I think the community should have a choice in who the local precinct commander is. I think that within New York City, we need to make sure that we are funding organizations that are working with public safety at the same level that we're funding NYPD. I think that every district is different. I don't think that, you know, in New York City, we can have a fix-all or an answer to how to address crime because New York City is, you know, Brownsville is totally different from Bensonhurst. I'll end it there.
Yes,
and so right. Everyone's different.
Council Member Alika Empri-Samuel, thank you for being on Brooklyn45. We are going to have you back soon because we really want to address the situation with crime that's in the news every day.
Please. I would love to come back and just really just dive into public safety and crime in New York City.
And we will have you back. Thank you very much for being on Brooklyn45.
Thank you, and be safe, everyone.
Yes, Council Member Alika Empri-Samuel. Great having you on our program, and we look forward to having you back again real soon to talk about the crime situation. That's such a problem in so many Brooklyn neighborhoods. And now, over to Alonta Wright-On.
Thanks, Sam. Well, joining us today is Yumiko McFarland, a ninth grader currently attending Bedford Academy High School in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome to Brooklyn45, Yumiko.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So, since we're at the beginning of the 2020-21 school year, we're going to start today by celebrating your work as a middle school student, celebrating your accomplishments as an eighth grader. Does that work for you?
That works perfect.
We have much to celebrate. So starting with your middle school, what middle school did you attend? What were some of your courses that you took in middle school? And share your final impressive grade point average.
I attended Launch Expeditionary Learning Charter School. The classes that they offered were core classes: English, writing, math, science, social studies, art, and physical education. My final grade point average was 115%.
So let's presume that you did some extra credit coursework.
No.
No, that's just your average, 115%.
Yes.
And how did you pull that off, Yumiko? Tell us the secret.
Hard work, staying up late and studying.
Hard work, staying up late and studying. Okay, it's a good practice for an honor student. So what would you say were some of your favorite classes? And were there any classes that were of more challenge to you as an A student?
Well, I actually have two favorite classes. One of them is science. I love science because there's never a final answer. You always have to dig deeper to figure out why something does what it does. And secondly, I like writing. Writing, you can create a world. I can create a world. I can create lives. I can create characters. I can express myself a way that I can't express myself verbally.
Mm-hmm. And you said that's through writing.
That's through writing.
Do you consider yourself a writer?
An amateur writer.
That's good. So before COVID-19, I understand that you were engaged in volunteer work. So talk to us about that work and why that line of work.
So I volunteer at my previous summer camp, which is Horizons at BFS, which is Brooklyn Friends School in downtown Brooklyn. I volunteer with a physical education teacher with K through second. I'm a CI counselor in training. We, talk about their day. We talk about the day to help them process what they went through, and we do a little bit of yoga. We get their hearts pumping, and we do physical education, and then we send them off. The reason I picked it was because I just enjoy being around children. I like being around them. Children can actually teach you a lot. So.
Same here. I love being around children, which was my career path to work with students. So what would you say are some of your greatest accomplishments?
I would say one of my biggest accomplishments was becoming valedictorian of middle school.
Becoming valedictorian in middle school. Okay, so can you share your valedictorian message?
My valedictorian message was, from a part of my speech, I talked about how their talent will inspire people and that their hope will infect others with courage. I talked about how I wasn't the only valedictorian, that they were also valedictorian. I told them that life was going to have challenges ahead of them, couldn't give up. They had to keep trying because they were making changes right there and then. They were going to continue to make changes in the world, and they couldn't just let that pass because the future was nothing without them.
A timely message. Good message. Was it well received?
It was.
Yes, that's definitely a notch in the belt when you can become the middle school valedictorian. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
So what are your aspirations as an adult for your future?
Well, I want to become a pediatric oncologist, which is a doctor who studies and treats cancer. But pediatric, meaning I would work with children who are diagnosed with cancer.
And why that field?
Well, my sister actually passed away because of cancer, and I remember the feeling of although I was only 9 or 8, I just remember the feeling of not being able to help because she had a very rare cancer, which is chondrosarcoma,
Mm,
cancer that's very, very difficult to pinpoint and even harder to treat. And she
yes.
got it when we found out she had it in her like the progressive stages, which means it was probably like a stage 3. For those who don't know what chondrosarcoma is, it's a tumor that's made up of cartilage that produce other cells. And I just want to prevent a family from ever feeling what me and my family felt of not being able to help, and just like hearing, oh, we can do this, but it might not work, or just hearing maybe over and over again. My biggest, I would have to say, dream would have to be to find a way to easily pinpoint it and treat the cancer. Rare cancers, that is.
Wow. Yumiko, what better way to honor your sister?
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And we're definitely going to follow you to see how you have progressed in your aspirations. So thank you for joining us this evening for Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for
It's been a
inviting
pleasure. Back to you, Sam. I am Alonta Ryder.
Hello, and thank you for watching. Brooklyn45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/brooklyn45tv. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching.
How many moms and dads out there are raising sons and daughters? And you can agree with me that having a great babysitter is an awesome thing. Now, how many of you have come to realize during this pandemic that our children are a piece of work? And teachers deserve credit for getting the job done while adapting to online classes, new district policies, and systemic grade changes, all while educating our children. Barely able to keep their heads above water on a good day, they have to now reinvent the educational wheel on a daily basis. And if you ask a teacher, why do you continue to teach? They simply say, teachers were not born to just teach. We were born to influence young minds, to recognize and discover the brilliance that lives and breathes within them. My name is Reggie Brown, and this is Brooklyn 45.